Thinking about buying a franchise? Don't go it alone. Just like a buyer's agent in real estate, you deserve someone who's on your side every step of the way. That's where Todd Abraham, the franchise guy, comes in. Todd's consulting services are completely free to anyone looking to buy a franchise. He'll represent your interest, make sure all your questions are answered, and walk you through the entire buying process. With Todd in your corner, you'll have the best chance for success from your first call to the day you hold the keys to your new business. So before you buy a franchise, talk to someone who knows the industry inside and out and works for you. Call Todd Abraham, the franchise guy, today at 423-381-0925 for a free, no-pressure consultation. That's 423-381-0925. Your future in franchising starts here.
Good afternoon. Today is the 13th of August. My name is Todd Abraham. You are listening to the Franchise Flashlight podcast series on franchiseradio.net. And today we are blessed to have with us a beautiful young lady by the name of Krishna Buford. And her husband have launched a flavorful franchise opportunity, and it's called Flava Wings, Flava. And her and I had a great conversation by phone a couple of weeks ago, and I told her, I said, those who say pictures don't work, they lie. I said, because after our conversation, I was scrolling through her website. I got such a wild craving for wings. I had to order some after we hung up the phone. So, Krishna, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Todd. Just so happy to be here chatting with you.
Yeah, and you can't see her, but I can. She's got a beautiful smile, and
Thank
yeah, we love beautiful smiles are a great thing because it just brightens people's day. You know, sometimes you can give somebody they could have the worst day of their life. They may not even know you, but if you give them that beautiful smile, it'll just change their whole perspective that day.
You are absolutely right about that. And that's something that I tell our cashiers all the time. You just never know how your friendliness could impact somebody's day. You don't know what kind of day they've been having, and you could make all the difference for them. I've seen it happen. So
Oh
I
yeah,
all the time.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, Krishna, give us a little bit of a background about yourself, and before we get started, though, let's give everybody the website. So it's flavawings.com, Flava, flavawings.com.
That's
And
it.
her and I were kidding on the phone. I said you should get Flava Flav, the rap artist, to be your spokesperson because I mean his name fits perfectly with the name of the business.
Fits
But
perfectly. Who knows? He
yeah.
may run across this podcast. You never
He
know.
might. He may become a franchisee.
Bring it on, Flavor
I'm
Flav.
Flava Flav, and I own the Flava Wings franchise. All
Bring
right,
it on.
tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a restaurateur, but I've worn many hats in my many moons here on this planet. I come from a corporate career. I've been in journalism, public relations, and did a little bit of teaching for a while, and which my mother was a teacher for 34 years. So I think I was just destined to at some point step into the classroom as a teacher. But I taught a little while, and then ended up as a restaurateur, and never would have thought that in a million years that that would have been the case. But here I am, and it takes a special kind of personality to be in this wild, crazy business, but it's a labor of love, and I love it.
Yeah, and especially in today's world where it just seems like it gets harder and harder to find good help. And we might be jumping the gun, but one of the things that you said to me on the phone, which me having about 20 years experience in the restaurant business, having done everything except own one, I love what you said because I've been a general manager before, and you said I'm slow to hire and quick to fire.
Yes.
And and I love one of the things I want you to talk about is your commitment to guest satisfaction and employee development. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I tell the staff, that whatever you spend your time doing, spend it doing it to the best of your ability. And what you put your hands to, make sure that you're bringing things to fruition in a positive way. And the guests who walk through our doors, this is how they earn their paychecks. So I tell them all the time, you are to treat our guests. Don't think about you're trying going to treat them like they were somebody that was coming to your own home, but you treat the guests that walk through this door as if what they need is the most important thing that's happening in this world right now.
That's
You give
awesome.
them eye contact, you give them your undivided attention, and you care, genuinely care about how you're servicing them. So I tell them all the time it's a privilege. It is a privilege to serve others. And I truly believe that.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, when I was training to be, I got hired as assistant manager, but with the understanding that as soon as that training was done, this was a Burger King in
Mhm.
Oregon, that I was going to take over the role as general manager. And I've always been, I mean, like, fanatic's probably an awful word to use, but a fanatic about, like you said, just perfect customer service. And so the lady that was the GM at the time, she told me, she said, you can't run your restaurant on the front register. She said, there's too much going on over here in the background. And I just smiled and, nodded. But as soon as I took over, when the lunchtime hit, that's right where I was at that front register, because like you said, I wanted to make sure these guests got a eye contact, got engaged, cheerfully, and not just take their order but learn something about them, strike up a conversation. And by doing that, lead by example, my employees understood and they learned that, hey, this is a privilege taking guest orders, And so it was a great experience. And that's just fantastic. Now, let's talk about why Flavor Wings. I mean, obviously, if you and your husband had the money to open a business, what inspired you to create this one?
It was honestly a fluke because, through the years, we'd spoken, and kind of dabbled a little bit into entrepreneurship and more so on the real estate side of things. And we always knew that we were probably going to go down that road, but just left it completely open as to how it would happen. And so when I tell people it was truly a fluke, it really was a fluke because neither my husband nor myself had ever had any restaurant experience at all, at,
That's great. That's great.
at all. And so, that's why when we started the year, and it was in 2019 that we started the process and we opened in 2020 at the peak of COVID. Nobody, if in January of 2019, if someone said, you guys are going to open a business this year and it's going to be a restaurant, we would not have believed it because it was not even on our minds. But my
Right.
husband, who still works in corporate America, this is his side hustle, but it's my baby.
That's awesome. That's awesome. His side hustle, my baby.
Yes, and
That's
so
great.
he had a client meeting and was on his way home and was going down 2234 headed back to our home and noticed that there was just no places to get food for several stretches of miles along the highway. And he has the thought and literally looks over to his left and sees the building and a for lease sign. And so he got home and he told me about it. And I said, well, let's call and see what happens. And we did. And then the rest is history. And when we called, we had no idea what we were going to do, what we were going to put in there. There was really no vision for it. We really were just kind of just moving with the intuition of it all. That's why I always tell people when I tell this story, it was so divinely orchestrated. That is really the only explanation that we could have for where we are right now. Because
So
we
of
had,
all the different food concepts you could have done, you could have went with something that was, already a franchise like Wingstop or anything like that. But what made you decide to start your own brand and in wings?
well, we have four children. And so we would entertain a lot in our home on the weekends because we had the most kids out of all of our friends. And so they could bring their couple of kids, and it's like a playtime with our four. And we would always typically make wings. And just my husband would just kind of experiment with different sauces. So when he saw the pour lease sign and we called, and we talked about it, and he said, "Well, why don't we do wings?" And I said, "Yeah, we can do that. We do it all the time. So let's just do that."
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
and that's literally how it happened. And we went with it and didn't have a name or anything at the time, but the landlord just trusted us and said, "Okay." And that's another reason I say it was all divinely orchestrated, because we didn't even have anything to really tell him that was solid, because we didn't even know.
So where did you come up with the name?
Well, we brainstormed and tried to kind of focus group our way to a name, and nothing really resonated. And one night I was on the West Coast visiting family, and my husband called me after 11 p.m. West Coast time. So it was pretty late Central time. And he said, I have the name. I think I have it. And I said, what is it? And he said, it's Flava Wings. I said, that's it. That's the name.
That's cool.
That is the name.
That's cool.
And
And
that's
it's
how,
very short and easy to remember too,
yeah,
and
yeah.
hey, I hope the rapper doesn't call up and say, y'all me royalties, because that is my name. So
Well, we are trademarked, so
no, that's cool. That's cool. So again, if you're just tuning in, we're talking to, I don't know why I say that because this podcast is always pre-recorded, but but I feel like I'm in live mode when I'm doing it. I was in the radio for 18 months, and sometimes it's hard for my brain to separate the two. But we're talking with Krishna Buford from Flava Wings. The website is super simple, flavawings.com, Flava. And on the website, when you go there, you'll see a pop-up almost immediately. They'll ask you if you want to learn more about the franchise. So you click on that pop-up, learn more, and it'll take you to the franchise information website. Now, let's go ahead and what is your husband's name? We definitely need to acknowledge him since
he's Chris and I'm Krishna.
Chris and Krishna.
Chris and Krishna.
And then
How's Chris and Chris?
that's cool. That's cool. And then so you've got two locations in Houston, Texas. One is at 13646 Bissonnet Street. Did I say that right?
That's it.
Suite E. And then the other is on McHard Road, also in Houston, Suite 102. And obviously, you guys do everything from dine in to carry out to DoorDash. What all different delivery services do y'all utilize?
Well, we're gonna be exclusive with DoorDash pretty soon, so I won't mention any of the others.
Okay, good.
But we also, you can order online, you can call in, and we offer a convenient way to pay yourself, so you don't have to give any credit card information over the phone. And you can also order through our app. We have an app as well.
That's cool. The Flava app.
Yeah,
But you can't eat the app though. Don't
you
try.
can't eat the app,
Right.
but it will be tempting.
It will be tempting. You can also buy gift cards on their website. You can apply for a job on their website. You also can sign up for their loyalty program on their website, which is really cool. I think the loyalty programs are really good these days, especially since the economy is tight. The inflation just doesn't seem like it's taken a retreat at all. It's funny, they always promise inflation's going to come down, but it never really does, and it's like, yeah, it's like the weather, man. It might rain today, and the guy can get it wrong 1,000 times and get a pay raise. So
That's right, exactly,
it,
exactly. And
it's only. Go ahead.
to your point too, with the economy and the loyalty program, we have definitely seen an increase in our loyalty subscriptions and the frequency that it's being utilized
That's
more
great.
than ever. More than ever.
How many different flavors of wings do you have, and what else do you serve besides wings?
Well, we have 13 flavors that are our standard flavors, and then we'll do seasonal flavors during the summer. So this summer we did one called Auntie Spicy Peach. We actually brought that back from last summer because it was so popular. And then we're doing a spicy backyard barbecue as well. And they'll be ending here pretty soon. But we'll always add in a seasonal flavor to mix in with the 13 standard ones that we have.
Okay, and just so you know, every time you and I talk, and this is going to be a rule going forward, when we're done, whether it be by phone or by a podcast, I'm going to send you the bill for the wing order that I do immediately after that because I had Chick-fil-A today, but it's creeping away slowly. And now I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to get some wings. I got to get some wings.
Well, we have wings. That we're a wing specialty establishment, but we also have boneless and tenders that we cut from house every day. And there was once upon a time we sold turkey wings
Oh,
as well.
wow.
We took
Yeah.
them off the menu, but people ask for them so often. We always kind of toy with maybe we should bring them back or not. And we also sell duck wings as well,
Nice.
from of the duck. And so people who love duck, they love them.
That is cool. Yeah, there actually is a Chinese buffet here in Athens, Tennessee, and every day after 4 o'clock, I think they serve frog legs on there. Oh my God, they are so good.
Wow.
Mm.
Everybody said frog legs taste like chicken. So
Well, no, these don't. They are really, really good, really good. But then again, they say everything tastes like chicken.
everything tastes like chicken.
I had an elephant leg; it tasted just like chicken. All right. So when someone buys a franchise with you, let's talk about who is your ideal franchisee candidate and do they need to be hands-on, semi-absent? Tell us about what you'd like to see in your franchisees.
Well, I feel like our ideal franchisee will have a corporate background, not necessarily restaurant experience, because obviously you can do it without restaurant experience, but having a corporate background with, a decent amount of business savvy is our ideal person. And I do think that initially you need to be an owner operator because it is up to you to build the culture inside of your store and how things operate. And nobody is going to make sure that you are off to a great start in the manner that you will. So I feel like that initially you can't trust in somebody else's hands to do for you. You've got to start off as an owner operator, and as your business matures, then that will give you the space to take away and perhaps purchase another franchise.
Yeah, that's
Get
true.
another store.
Yeah, and
Multi-store development.
you answered that question. So you will allow them to have multiple units.
Mhm.
So what is the ideal size, square footage for a location? And then let's also talk about what is the franchise fee, the initial all-in investment, which if you don't know franchise, that particular number, that includes the franchise fee and then the monthly royalty.
So our monthly royalty is 5%. It's a $35,000 investment. Of course, if it's a multi-unit development, then it's a little bit less the more units you commit to. And it takes about 250,000 to get started. Now, that number is a variable because if you happen to lease a space as a second generation restaurant space, then that's going to save you a lot of money. So that 250, it's a fluctuation, but that's about how much you can plan to spend.
Well, and the bright side of the economy is, 'cause I'm a glass half full kind of person,
Mhm.
is that we see a lot of a considerable amount of even fast food concepts that are closing, which at one point it was like automatic. If you opened it, it was just going to be successful.
Mhm.
The case in point, the local Hardee's here, the owner passed away and passed it down to his sons. They were not interested in running it, so now we've got, two or three empty Hardee's locations, which are in prime locations,
Mm.
but they're still sitting empty. So what size square footage do you recommend as far as the location?
Around 12 to 1400. You don't need a huge space because what we realize is consumer spending habits have changed and evolved. And so, whereas it used to be that families would come in and sit and have dinner, you know, on any evening of the week, really, we've seen it where people are doing more takeout than anything else. So you don't need to have a whole huge lobby. We learned that with our second location. It just really doesn't take that much. So
Right.
12 to 1,400 square feet is
That's fantastic. What would be the maximum amount of space you'd say think they might want?
I would say not to go over 1,400,
Right.
not to go
And
over 1,400.
the drive-through necessary.
We would never do a drive-through because we are a fresh premise. So everything we prepare is fresh to order, made fresh to order, when ordered, and not a moment before. And so it is so important for us. A lot of the industry focuses on speed.
Right.
We focus on freshness and giving a premium quality product that is going to take time to do. And we just won't compromise with that. And our customer base really had to learn that about us. That has been our number one, you know, ick, if I could say that, since we've been open. And we don't hear about it too much now because I think people have just kind of learned that they prepare fresh food, and that's really what sets us apart from everybody else. That it's a fresh product. It's made when you order it, and when you get it, it's just delicious. It's hot, it's fresh, it's good, and we won't move away from that. But we do, offer ways to order ahead of time to avoid the in-store wait.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that does truly set you apart because, I mean, you just don't rarely hear them anymore. I mean, unless you go to a restaurant, like a casual sit down
Yes.
restaurant, and they prepare it, but you rarely ever hear of, in fact, I can recall this is interview number 52 or 53 I've done with franchisors on the Franchise Flashlight podcast series. And I can't recall talking to any other restaurant owners that in the what you would consider a fast food market product that make it fresh to order. And you're right. I mean, anybody knows if you're human and you've grown up, you've had fresh cooked meals, it always tastes better if it's made fresh.
Always.
Always.
There's no substitute for it. There's no substitute for, having fresh and never frozen. There's no substitute for cutting your, boneless and your tenders in-house. Like there's just no substitute for that.
So, what is your average ticket time?
Our average ticket time is 20 minutes.
That's
And
not
that
bad.
can vary depending on obviously the higher the volume of orders,
Sure.
the
Sure.
longer the wait time will be. But yeah, it averages 20 minutes. And it takes the chicken about 14 minutes to cook. And if it's a bone-in wing,
Right.
and boneless and tenders is a little bit less, but yeah, about 14 minutes to cook. And then we get your sides ready and get your sauce and tossed and out the door.
That's still not bad though, because you consider that, most people have smartphones now, and that 20 minutes seems so much shorter now that they've got something to entertain their brain, if you will.
And we have TV
Um,
in the stores as well. So, it's 20 minutes. To me, it's not a long time either when you're gonna get a fresh product and you know it's gonna be
yes. And especially wings.
good. Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes. All right, well, very good. Now, so again, we're talking with Krishna Buford from Flava Wings. Her and her husband, Chris, launched this business in 2019. The website, flavawings.com, FLAVA wings.com. There is a link there for the franchise information. Your all-in investment, like she mentioned, is going to be around 250,000, but it could be less if you, like she said, you can find a second generation store where they've already got all the equipment in there, and it's, in other words, the build out is just going to be more of a conversion than
Yeah.
a
Just
build from
cosmetic.
scratch. Yep.
Mhm.
And then franchise fee is 35,000, which is included in that all in initial investment. And the monthly royalty 5% actually is on the lower side of the average monthly royalty, which is 6% across the franchise industry in any sector. The average monthly royalty is going to be 6%. They do allow for multiple unit owners, and they are looking, like she said, for owner operators who at least will start as an owner operator, learn the business, get a good foundation, a good culture in place, and then they can look at expanding to multiple units, standard space size. I love small footprint, 12 to 1400 square feet. And what that equivocates to is lower utility cost
That's right.
because that very same Hardee's I'm telling you about, their lobbies are huge, even the ones that are still open, but you rarely ever see anybody in them. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they're just paying for all that extra space
Yep.
for nothing,
For nothing. For
extra
nothing.
cost.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Extra costs.
All right. Well, let's take a moment. Let's acknowledge our sponsor for the Franchise Flashlight podcast series. It is the most amazing company in the United States or Canada to create a franchise out of your business, and its name is Franchise Marketing Systems. They have
Give it
helped.
up for 'em.
Oh yeah, they have created over a franchise out of over 700 brands. They do a complete, thorough, I want to say 11 to 12 step process. So, including which every franchise creation would do your franchise disclosure document. They also do your business plan, your franchise information website. They help you file your federal trademark should you need that help. They create an operations manual for you, which will absolutely blow you away, the professionalism of it. And they do several other steps, but after it's all said and done, then they're also going to assign you a brand ambassador and help you promote and sell your franchises. And you'll also get to appear on this great podcast series, Franchise Flashlight.
That's it. Absolutely. You hit it on the head.
Yeah, fantastic. And I know this not only from interviewing so many franchisors, but I also myself am a franchisor, and the FMS created my franchise for me, and I was blown away by the level of diligence, professionalism, and like I've said many times, if you have a question about because when you become a franchisor, you don't know what you don't know. And
Mm.
so learning that part is a whole new universe, a whole new world. But even though FMS has heard that question probably 100 times, they will answer it as though that was the first time they
First
heard it.
time.
And
That's
I
right.
love it, love it, love it, love it.
That's right.
And if you are a business owner and you'd like to create a franchise out of your business model, you can contact me directly, Todd Abraham. My phone number 423-405-4040, and we will give you a free, thorough, professional consultation, and we'll let you know right up front. Are you ready? If you're not ready, we'll tell you the things that you need to fix or change or whatever so that you will be ready. Because again, once FMS creates the franchise for you, they're as vested as you are because, again, they're going to help you to promote and sell your franchises available in the United States and Canada. So, Krishna, let's talk some more about. I love what you said, the slow to hire, quick to fire. So, let's, from a franchisee point of view, talk about that process and how they will implement that in their when they open their Flava Wings.
Well, I think what's really important for people to understand is that what you're doing when you're hiring to fulfill the needs of a business. It's not emotional. You can't approach it from a nurturing standpoint. You have to really approach it from a business aspect. I came into business very naive, and I thought certainly I won't ever have to terminate anyone because I am going to hire people, I'm going to nurture them, I'm going to develop them, I'm going to respect them, I'm going to pay them a fair wage that is comparable to the industry average and standards. And people are going to appreciate that. They're going to appreciate the environment. And I'm going to do all these things for my staff. I learned within the first 30 days that
You really did come into it blindly, didn't you?
I mean, I was so naive. I just thought, I'm gonna make it a wonderful work environment and a family environment, and people are gonna really appreciate that. And in the first 30 days, I learned that if I did not change that perspective, that I don't know what we
There would
wouldn't
be no
have
more
Flava
Flava
right
Wings.
now at all, at all.
Right.
I mean, so I say, and even in coaching, potential franchisees, you have got to approach it from a business mindset. It is fulfilling the needs of the business, and that's all that matters.
That's
Because
right.
when you enter into all of the emotional variables that people will put before you, it's not gonna work out for the business.
Well, and not only that, but like you and I both understand, one of the greatest things that you can control is that guest interaction when people come into your store. And I love what you said because that's exactly how I train my employees. It's like, look, it's a privilege to wait on these folks. I mean, they're paying our salaries, they're paying our wages. And, and I'm sure that you do this as well. But like I used to tell my staff, look, we want to have fun while we work here, but we want to stay busy and we want to make it, productive, and we want to keep it a clean, wholesome environment. But I just tell them, I said, look, when people come into our store, I said the first thing that they're going to see is our parking lot. If that parking lot is clean, we've already made a very good first impression because that is not a common thing these days. When they walk in that front door, they're going to see the lobby. If the lobby is clean, we've made a second good first impression. Well, half of those people, most of the time, they're going to turn and go to the restroom. If the restroom is clean, now we've made a third first impression, good first impression. So by the time they get to that register, if we have scored a plus on those three things, we have beat 85% of the competition before they ever take our order.
That is so, so very true.
Yeah.
One of the things that we are complimented on often is the cleanliness of the restaurants. And I tell the staff, we're a restaurant. We can't ever be too clean. There is
Right.
always something to clean, something to wipe down. And I although I am always humbled when people compliment the food. I mean, it's every time to me, it's just like hearing it for the very first time, and I sincerely mean that. But when
Right.
somebody talks about how clean the stores are, that I mean, I can't tell you how much that means to me. Like it's I mean, it's right up there with people enjoying the food itself, like to say that it's clean. And we recently I ran across a review that talked about this person said that he was some type of health inspector. That was his job but it wasn't in the restaurant industry. I think it may have been like in hospitals or something. And he was referencing how he said this place is really clean for real. Even the restrooms, he said everything is really, really clean. And I know that it's clean because I'm a health inspector and I do this for a living. I can
That's
tell
awesome.
it's clean. And I screenshotted it
Yeah, that's
so that
awesome.
I can
Yeah.
just keep it because I just that's such a compliment to me.
It is. And two, as you train your employees to engage the customers and be friendly with them and make eye contact, that makes up for so many mistakes because every restaurant's going to make mistakes. That's human nature. But me personally, I am so much more forgiving if the person that took my order
Mhm.
does the things that you train your staff to do. And that is a big game changer right there because every food order may not be perfect, but
Mhm.
that friendly,
Yes.
engaging, is going to make a world of difference. And it brings people back.
Oh
It
yeah, it
brings
surely
people
does.
back.
It surely does. And one one thing that I know for sure is that if you are sincere in your engagement with a customer, customers can feel sincerity. And I used to think this was another part of my naivete coming into business. I used to think that people just naturally knew how to do that. And so in my training, I wouldn't really put a lot of emphasis on manners and the importance of it because I just thought it was a given. It was a natural that if you are at your job and you're in a customer service position, then you're going to naturally be friendly and nice and caring with customers. But I learned that you really have to teach that. You really have to make that part of training.
Yes. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Really,
But,
like when I
you
started
know,
off, I didn't start off putting a lot of emphasis in it, but I quickly learned that, oh, you've got to really hone in and really, really drive that in order for it to happen because the standard is no longer the same. As
right. That's
people
right.
are not growing up with the same values and the same teachings and the same, expectations. And that has changed. And so
Yes, it has tremendously. And well, and not only that, but your employees hold the standard that you hold them to.
that's right.
And if you don't constantly hold that stand, you can do it in a very friendly, nice way. I did it. And when I my first GM role, it took me about 3 months of a lot of prayer, a lot of patience, and some firing to get my employees to the point where it's like, look, we know now we can have fun. We can keep the store clean as long as the fun we're having is clean and we're staying busy. And the Lord blessed. We brought our customer service rating from a 38% up to 55% in like 3 months. And so it's rewarding too at the
Mhm.
same time because again the more and again the repeat business that is what helps restaurants thrive when other restaurants in the same field are just barely getting by because again all of those factors that you've talked about that you implement through your store. So that's just really a blessing to.
It is.
But I will say this though, Krishna, the Lord blessed you with a great wealth of experience in order to be successful in the restaurant business. I mean, you've got the teaching, you've got the publicity, the marketing, and all that stuff. So the Lord really prepared you for what you're doing.
Listen, if I don't know anything else, I'm 100% certain of that. Every single job, my very first job at 15 was a cashier for, for a
Yeah,
family-owned store in my
right.
town, and that was my very first job. Every single job that I've had prepared me for this moment right here. Every single one. And when
Yep.
I look back on it, I'm like, God, it's something else.
Yeah.
I mean, when you really just surrender and just let go and just, listen to the subtle unctions that are guidance, you will be amazed
Absolutely, yes. And
at
that's the
things.
same way with me. I never worked on the production side of the newspaper business, and I ran from God for about 18 years, at least I thought I was.
Mhm.
And all that experience that I gained before then and through that 18 years of running from God, I mean, every bit of that now helps me so tremendously in what I do in publishing a Christian newspaper. It's uncanny. It really
It
is.
really is. It truly is. And when I think about every single from 15, every single job, I still teach my cashiers what Miss Parker, that was the wife of the owner of the store, what she
Right.
taught me at 15. And I tell myself all the time, I didn't want her to have to tell me to do things. I wanted to anticipate what she might ask me to do so
Right.
I could
Right.
do it and just do my very best for them. And I try I try so hard to just embed that into my staff today. The things I learned at 15, they are still applicable today in 2026. And I won't tell you how
Right.
long ago I was 15. I'm not going to tell you.
Well, you're just 39 now, right? I mean, isn't that right? You're just 39 now, right?
I mean 39 forever.
Yeah, I waited on two twin sisters in a little cafe in Oregon quite a few years back, and they were a hoot. We had the best time, and they were celebrating their birthday that day, and it was their 54th birthday. And I said, "Well, how young are you today?" And they said, "We're celebrating the 15th anniversary of our 39th birthday," and that's the best answer I've ever heard.
I'm with them.
Yes, I'm with them. I'm with them. All right. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap this up. This has been an amazing podcast. I've had such a great time.
Great.
But again, yes, we're talking with Krishna Buford from Flava Wings, FLAVA wings.com. Again, you're in the franchise information. Just go to the main website, click on the little pop up that comes up to learn more about the franchise information. But I know there's a lot of stores out there, different restaurants that offer wings, and I know there's several franchises out there that are around the country, but there's nothing else like this that you as a entrepreneur can take advantage of and be very successful with, and something with such an incredible foundation in place. Just really, I just think somebody could do really well with this,
Oh yeah.
especially in a bigger market where they could, that's one last question I guess to be good to talk about is what sort of a territory do you provide for each different restaurant? What mile radius would it be?
So it's about a 15-mile radius, but we more so focus on number of homes. So that's going to be an area that has at least a 55,000 residential home base around wherever the store will be. And of course, we will not even from a corporate store, we won't put anything near the franchisee at all. But we are more so focused on them having at least a 55,000 residential um, space around them.
Well,
Homes.
and I think a 15-mile distance is a really good, safe distance to have the
Mhm.
stores apart because, here in this little town of Athens, Tennessee, which we're dead center between Knoxville and Chattanooga, at one point we had five subways. And I was like, that's just too many. It's just way
Did
too
they all
many.
fail?
Well, yeah, in fact, they closed the one in Walmart. They're going to turn that into a Huddle House, which I'm so excited about because we have a great Waffle House here, but we needed another choice, and so I'm happy to know that the Huddle House is going to come in and because we have a great Walmart here. It's one of a hard to believe it's bigger for a smaller town, but it's a great Walmart. It's managed by a Christian man, does a wonderful job, and so it's just nice to know that not only we have a great Waffle House, but now we'll have an alternative in the Huddle House, and it'll be right there in the Walmart. So, well, Krishna, before we wrap it up, just give us any closing comments you would like to talk about. And then also, for somebody who's interested in buying a franchise with you, do you want to give them your direct contact information? Do you want them to go through the form on the franchise information website?
Well, for anyone who's interested in a franchise opportunity with us, they can go to myflavorwingsfranchise.com and they can go from there and your information, and somebody will be in touch with you within 24 hours. And then we're off to the races.
That's great. Any closing comments before we wrap it up?
I will say this, that true freedom truly comes from building a business for yourself and for your family and for the generations to come. That is where the true freedom lies, I feel. And you know, when you have the freedom to work for yourself, it is really priceless. And buying into a franchise is one of the safest bets that you can do when you're new into entrepreneurship, because you're buying into something that's already structured. It's already going to give you the support that you need. You're going to be able to have somebody to kind of hold your hand when you need to hold your hand, because as you indicated earlier, when you're going into anything new, you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
And when you're going into business, yes, you have your high moments, but then there are also moments where it wasn't a great day, because business ebbs and flows. And so you need to, it's nice to have somebody when you're going into business for the very first time to be able to give you that emotional and mental support as well, because you don't know what you don't know. And when you have a bad day, you could think it's the end of the world, but it's really not. You get up the next day and you go for it again. And so I would say to anybody who's interested in becoming a business owner, buying into a franchise is a safe bet. And it's a super safe bet with Flava Wings, because you're using our blueprint that we have already figured out all of the pitfalls that people typically make when they're new in business. And so you'll save lots of money not making those mistakes that we've already made, and know what the tried and true really, really is. So if you want to go into business, it's easy to do a franchise.
Yeah, it is true. And especially with inflation, what it is, and the price of commercial real estate being what it is, there really is not a wiggle room for financial pitfalls. And it's, owning a franchise as a first time entrepreneur, it's almost like, well, it's just like having a child for the first time. And when something happens and you don't have the experience to know, the tendency to freak out goes much higher. But then you've got that friend that's got 4 children, or 2 children. You can call them and say,
Yeah.
"What do I do?" And they're so calm and collective, and they
Yeah.
laugh. It's just calm down, honey. This is what you do. Same thing with, buying into a franchise, plug and
Yeah.
play systems, no guesswork involved. You've got brand awareness already. You've
Mhm.
got everything is already proven. Like I've said before, it's you if it's already proven, and that's why the franchisor created the franchise, because not only did they do very well, but they did so well that they thought this will grow. This can be
Yeah.
something that can become exponentially grow through franchising. So very good. Well,
Yeah.
Krishna, it has been an honor and a blessing, and I'm just excited for the outlook for the Flava Wings. Again, not only for the professional um, job you've done building the business, but the fact that you give all the glory to God, and Christian owned. I love it. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes. All right, folks. Again, as we close out here, you're listening to the Franchise Flashlight podcast series on franchiseradio.net. My name is Todd Abraham. I'm your host. And if you want more information about the Flava Wings franchise, you can also contact me directly at 423 405 4040. And until our next episode, thank you and God bless.
God bless.